Hey, Egg Teacher Thoughts here, coming at you with another video. Well, we've reached the end of the season. All the hanging baskets are down, and now it's time for us to disassemble our fertilizer mix tank and repurpose it. I have another plan. I don't know if it's going to fit, but I've got another plan for it. So we're going to go ahead and disassemble this today. I'm going to kind of show you through that process. I am rather pleased with how the idea of the system worked. However, my execution of it, being that I never found a timer to make this run automatically, that's kind of the frustrating point. But I did locate a timer that'll allow me to plan this down to the minute, so I can have this fertilized for 1 or 2 minutes, whereas my other systems I had would make it run for 5 minutes, which was a little bit too long for fertilizer. So I do have a self-timable system that can get me down to the minute of where I want it to run and when I want it to run. So yeah, this will run automatically next year. I just got to remember to constantly fill up the tank, every couple of days. So I'm going to go ahead and get this fertilizer mixing up because it'll settle out over time. So I'm going to turn it on, use the internal return that I had. So I've got a return valve here that'll cycle that fluid back into the tank. That'll mix it up really good, and then we'll use that same return line to fill up some watering cans, and we'll go ahead and reuse this to water our plants in the greenhouse. So I figured I'd bring you along on this process as we continue to tear down for the season. And yeah, let's get a couple of things taken care of before we do that. I know the difference in light intensity is going to make this a little bit difficult. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to unplug the filter unit. So this is the line that ran up to the baskets. That'll be there. We'll unplug the filter because we don't want any fluid in that over the winter. Oh, and that's going to run junk all the way down into where I didn't want it. Whoops. Should have planned ahead for that. The top of this has kind of gotten covered with debris. I need to make sure I cover it next year. We got a gasket. Needs to go back in there. Okay, so this is now officially empty. We'll set that off to the side. And then I'm going to turn off my outflow, so nothing's going to come out to here. There is a return line. Let's see if we can get that junk poured off. There's a return line here that I was using to adjust the pressure and mix the tank. So instead of just drawing out from it when it was running, it would actually return some of that fertilizer back into the tank and mix it up every time the system was used. So what I'm going to do is I've got it turned so that it will only come out of this return line, and I'm going to run it for a few minutes and let it mix the tank. And we'll talk about winterizing drip lines on another one. So let's get more of this debris out of here. Set that back there. Make sure none of that fluid got into my pump. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and turn it on. Headphone warning, it may be a little loud, but I'll mute it with some other music in a moment. Okay, well, I've removed the screws from this, and I want you to get a chance to look on the inside. As you saw from the clip, the pump turned on but didn't run. And here we go. Here is the inside. I got to be careful not to destroy that gasket. It's the only one I got, so I'm going to go ahead and take that all the way off. Harbor Freight does say that this is a clear water only pump. It's a clear water transfer pump. Looks like we do have some rusting coming through there. We were not running clear water through it. We were running fertilizer, which is, a mineral water, lots of salts. And I think why it's not running right now is all these salt buildups in there. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some water and I'm going to run it through here and see if I can dissolve those salts and get the pump spinning again. I knew it was a possibility, but honestly, in my opinion, Part of this is because when I turned off the system, I forgot to do anything with it, and kind of near the end, I stopped using it. I think as long as the fluid keeps going through it, it's going to keep all this crystals from forming. But this had time to drain back through the system and then just form this accumulation here and dry out. So I'm going to go ahead and see if I can get that. I'm going to see if I can get that back into a liquid form and see if I can get that to spin again. But honestly, in my opinion, if I pay like $70 a year for an automatic system, I'm okay with that. You know, that's labor I won't have to worry about, and I can kind of see it as a consumable. I mean, take $70 and divide it over all the times that I'd have to be out there fertilizing. I think I'd be money ahead still, even if I destroyed a pump. So let me get some other things to work on this, and I'll be right back. All right. So I don't want to get this into the motor itself. I'm going to just dribble some liquid in there. I want it to kind of run out. So I want to be able to run the motor, but I don't want to cause an issue. Let's see if I can get some wire to work that around. Hard to tell what kind of corrosion that is, whether it's the metal corroding or if it's the salts. But I probably should have just tapped it when it was dry. And we don't know if it's gotten back into the shaft of the motor, but I don't want to disassemble it. Half teaspoon to spin the rotor. Oops, maybe I'm going the wrong way. So, yep. Okay, I got it spinning again. I'm going to go ahead and put this back together and see if we can get it to work. I knew it was a risk. It's a risk I was willing to take for convenience. Isn't that how it always goes? Convenience. But we learned something. We've really got to manage our pump. You know, I probably should be running clear water through it every once in a while, but I think just not letting it sit will be the biggest thing. And like I said, if this dies, it's just a part of doing business to me. This pump ran thousands and thousands of gallons at the high school. I think my tote was holding like close to 500 gallons. And sometimes I was running it through there 3 and 4 times a day. So 1,000 gallons a day. So I have more than gotten my money's worth out of this little pump. Kind of the at-home stuff was just a bonus. And yes, this is my pump. It was not the school's. I bought it to make my life there easier. Okay, so we've got this back together. Let's bench test it for just a second, and then we will go hook it back up to the system. No. It says no. Let's try it without the plate. Drop the screws in my pocket so I don't lose them. Aha! Ha ha! We have life! Okay, let's rinse a little bit more. Okay, that part is good. Okay, get our gasket back on, correct orientation, which Just like that. Get this plate back on. Put all of our pocket screws back on. So we're gonna try it, operate it when these are not like all the way down. I'll try to see if we can get it to kind of stage into being ready to do this. Okay, these are just like making contact. They're not like full send all the down. There's no ugga-duggas on them. All right, boy, that was loud. All right, go ahead and put those tight. I'm gonna do a like modified star. Yep. Okay, let's put that back in there and see if it works. Outlet on the outlet side, inlet on the inlet side. Got that set up. We're gonna bring the cord back over here. So, warning, this thing's gonna be loud, and I'm gonna let it run for a little bit. If you have headphones, please mute those. And as soon as this starts up, I'll drop music over the top of it or something. All right, what we're going to do now is we're going to actually feed fertilizer water out of our return tube into watering cans, and we'll use those in the greenhouse. Looking in here, there's far more fertilizer water than what I'm going to be able to use right now. So I'm going to try to figure out something to do with it or store it, because I'm going to need it out of this container before the freezing weather sets in. So we'll probably use 6 or 8 gallons today, and the rest of it we'll have to do it another time. All right, so holding a watering can while you're holding an extension cord with water with salt in it's probably a really bad idea. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a little adjustment to this. I'm going to take the return line off. We're going to just put a garden hose on that. That way we can be separate. Just watch the cans fill on their own. I've got a garden hose that I've drained all the other water out of, so only thing that'll be in it will be fertilizer. Okay, it's probably much better, much safer. There, this way we're not touching anything. Okay, headphone warning. Okay, there we go. Much safer. All right, now let's go water the greenhouse. All right, well, there's part of the decommissioning. I wanted to show you kind of the whole thing, but you get the idea. I'm basically going to drain that tank with all of the fertilizer water that's in there, use it to water the plants. I may have to move it to its next location prior to it being absolutely completely empty, but I need to at least get some of that weight out of there because I can't pick up that much weight. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed seeing the decommissioning of the fertilizer injection system. Again, next year it's going to come back bigger, better, and stronger, and it's going to be 100% automatic, other than me filling it with 4 to 8 gallons of fertilizer water every couple of days to make sure that that system stays full. And I'm going to be doing that by measuring it myself. It's probably easier to put it in a measured container and pour it into that system and do a bunch of that at a time than it is to try to figure out what level it's at and then add the fertilizer and the water to that. So it's not going to quite be as standalone as I want it to be, but it's going to be close enough, and also it's going to be disconnected from my municipal water service, so I don't have to worry about having a backflow prevention on it because it's not physically going to be connected. I'm going to run on an electric pump all on its own. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed. There is still more greenhouse content coming this winter, especially once the snow flies and we figure out whether or not this system can handle it. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed. I hope you're learning. Ag Teacher Thoughts out.